Man, this was very interesting video to make because there's a controversy over this. Imagine that. So you have this lady which says that the fact that these stories are so prevalent among young women absolutely breaks my heart. So the story is about this young lady who claims that the boyfriend which took her virginity went on Tinder in front of her an hour later. And then when they went to the beach, he wouldn't stop talking about other girls' bodies. So she's really upset. Now, many people suggested that maybe the problem is that this young lady made a poor choice. Like, she should have known the guy better before offering herself to him if she didn't want to end up with the guy losing interest. To which the same person says, I don't want to hear any ladies respect yourself, expect more. Bullshit. Let's tell young men not to be agents of terror. Agents of terror. Oh, exaggerating much? Like, look, I understand. You know, like when you're a woman, that is a big issue. Men get friend zoned. So if you're a man and the woman is not interested in you, she wants to just be friends. And that's it. You know, that's what men have to deal with. It breaks your heart, but what can you do? Every man got friend zoned. Women get fuck zoned. So if a man isn't interested in a woman, yeah, he's going to have sex with her, and then he's not going to be interested in anything else. So both genders aren't equal. They deal with different problems. But like your solution, I guess, would be to crack down on the human rights of men. And it's their human right to date whomever they want, right? Like sexual liberation is a thing. So you should restrain that to make women feel more comfortable. It's like, okay, but then what do women lose? Like, what is the negotiation? So you're going to take something away from men, right? Now we need to negotiate. What do women give up? Like nothing. They should just be able to like put a chain on a man after they gave away their virginity, right? Like you have one night with him. Okay, now he's yours. He belongs to you. He's like a slave. You can use him and abuse him until he wants to go, right? My God, like the sense of entitlement. It's not like a relationship is between two consensual parties. No. Like in the perfect world, in the perfect utopia, the moment the woman decides to give her virginity, like she owns that man. It's very interesting. And the idea, like this is the thing that I never understood. How exactly do human beings believe that this is how the world works? Like, if you have a person that's an asshole, a womanizer, okay? Like, no one likes a womanizer. But let's say you have him, just by telling him, like, if you tell him not to be an agent of terror, he's going to be brainwashed. It's like you have the voice from Dune. And you tell him, and immediately he's like, gosh darn it, I will stop my ways. You know, because feminists used to have the same thing with how to solve rape. It's like, just tell a rapist not to rape. And immediately they're like, gosh, I didn't know that I'm not supposed to do it. Oh, wow. Like, I'm so glad you told me, lady. If you haven't told me, I would have done something and I would have ended up in jail. I could have ruined my life. Like, thank you so much for telling me. Wow, you're so enlightening. I had no idea that committing crime is a problem. Oh, wow. Like, so is this like bewildering way of thinking, which only leads to sadness? Like, I guess you want a perfect world where your decisions have zero consequences. But, you know, like, for men it's the same way. Like, there are men who, for example, they can become in love with a gold digger, and the moment they don't have money, she dumps them. It can happen both ways. You can have a man which falls in love with a woman, gets her pregnant, and then the woman leaves him and he has to pay child support. It's not just like, the only problem is that you're hyper-focusing on women issue and you're not zooming out and seeing the whole picture. It's like men deal with problems. Do you know how men fix the problem? Not by complaining, that's for sure. Because if we complain, no one cares about. So the way men fix the problem, like for example, I don't know how many people did this and how many people would think that I'm paranoid for doing this. But when I was a teenager and I was having sex, I would always use rubber. And then I would fill the rubber with water to see if it's not leaking. Well, not after, but like the next day. I have a friend who actually did that and saw that the rubber is leaking. So he asked the lady to take the morning after pill. Because it can happen, right? But like that's on us. It's on us, the men. Because we're the only one in charge of the situation if we don't want to be affected by the situation. I don't understand this American mentality where it's trying to convince people to allow themselves to become victims. That's what it is. Like, because by telling a person that you're not responsible at all, you're going to eventually face reality. Reality doesn't care about your feelings. Reality doesn't give a shit. Like, if you don't lock your car, someone might break into it. And if you're like, oh, well, teach people not to break into my car, it's like, okay, well, they're being taught and they don't give a shit. They still broke into it. What then? What? The ball is in your court. You have a broken-in car. Are you happy? And it really depends, like, what exactly do you have to lose? Because someone breaking into your car is one thing. Someone taking your virginity and then dumping you is another. Like, are you happy with the consequences? You know, like, all these people that come up and say, teach men not to do X, Y, and Z. When men are being taught and they still do X, Y, and Z, can you hold these people accountable that lied to you, that manipulated you, when they could have said, hey, you need to be more careful? You know, like, you need to be more careful with certain things because there's bad people out there. The way you should look at bad people is they're like a force of nature. They exist. They happen. If it's raining outside, you don't teach the clouds not to rain. You get an umbrella. I don't understand how this ideology managed to take root. It's baffling to me that people think this is something worth teaching. Like telling another human being, yeah, don't do anything to protect yourself. Imagine if you're a firefighter and the city hall would tell you, hey, you know what? Don't use protection gear. Like, don't use gas masks. Don't use anything. Because people aren't supposed to start fires anyway. What? You know, I mean, we used to have this expression from our ancestors, better safe than sorry. So yeah, like, better safe. Like, just make sure that... And by the way, like, that, just because you try to be safe doesn't mean it will never happen. Because, like, I had people, and I told them, it's like, hey, you know, you should avoid this neighborhood at night because it's very dangerous. And they're like, oh, well, you know, I still got mugged sometimes, and I wasn't in a dangerous neighborhood. And it's like, yeah, okay, like, when you take safety precautions, it doesn't guarantee that you're not going to be in danger, but it just lowers the chance. I mean, I actually had this conversation with a family member of mine years ago, and she was upset that she went to a guy's house and he groped her ass without her permission. And I'm like, what the fuck were you at the guy's house? And she's like, oh, well, victim blaming. It's like, look, I'm not saying it's your fault that he groped your ass, but what I'm saying is if you didn't go to that, you wouldn't have been exposed to that traumatic event. Do you like the traumatic event being with you? Like, what can I do now? What can I do? I can't do anything. I mean, we can call the cops on the guy if you want, but, like, do you have any evidence that it happened? So, like, why would you put yourself in that situation? It's like me walking alone at night with a big fat wallet coming out of my back pocket and I would go into the poorest neighborhood. What do you think would happen? And if I get mugged and I complain and you say, well, maybe you shouldn't have done that, why didn't you take a cab? I would be like, you're victim blaming me. It's like, you know, I guess that it shouldn't be my fault for getting mugged, but at the same time, if there are things that I could increase my safety and, like, I could avoid doing something in order to protect me, why wouldn't I do it? If I don't protect myself, do you think, like, anyone else will? Do you think other people give a shit? It's the same thing here, you know, like, this is why people are saying, it's like, hey, maybe you should, you should respect yourself. Like, if you don't respect yourself, why do you expect other people to? So, yeah, I mean, if you're a woman, I guess giving your virginity is a big risk, which is why most women don't put out very fast when it's about their virginity, because they want to see if the guy is trustworthy or not. It's the same reason why men don't marry. Like, if you tell a man, hey, you shouldn't marry this woman 1 month after meeting her, do you think, like, this is something bad that you can tell men? Do you think this is unreasonable to say? It's like, hey, maybe you should know her a little bit more than 1 month before you hook up with her and give her the ring? As a matter of fact, that's the entire plotline of Frozen. The whole thing is with Anna marrying too fast. Like, she just meets the guy and marries him. No one is upset about that message. Which, by the way, also affects men. Like, no one is saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't rush into marriage. Then why is it okay to tell women that they should rush into giving away their virginity. Like, I don't understand. It's so weird. Like, this culture of zero responsibility. I mean, I understand, like, you should lower your responsibility, but, like, really zero? Like, even children have more responsibilities nowadays. Like, it seems it's more okay to tell children, hey, you shouldn't trust a stranger, you shouldn't get into a car with a stranger. Like, that's fine if you say that, but if you tell it to a woman, that's misogynistic. Like, that's cancel culture. So bizarre. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.